All right. Hi. Sorry for the delay, everyone. Everything was bad, and now it is still bad, but differently bad. Um, we're going to be talking about the shit that we alluded to last, not week, but the week before last, the last episode, which is, I mean, I guess it's logic. That makes sense, right? Logic makes sense. Eh. It's informal logic. I'll say that because we don't do math here. Not yet.
Not yet.
I wanna thank my patrons for making this possible. I want to do that, but I can't find the list of patrons, so I'm just gonna say thank you, patrons, and then when I find the list later, I will thank them very specifically at the end of the episode. Um, this episode actually we have a very special little thing for you. I made slides. I don't remember why I made slides. Oh, you can't see them yet because I got a transition. Oh, thank God. I'm so glad. But yeah, I made slides because I didn't trust myself to stay on topic, which is I'm still not going to, but at least now have.
I think it would go against the spirit of the science stream to stay completely on topic for an entire episode.
No, that's entirely accurate. Your logic is impeccable.
But is it valid and is it sound,
I don't know.
Guillermo?
Let's find out what the hell that means by looking at these. How do I get rid of the transition view? Boop. Okay. So I'm gonna, I'm not an artist, and various other phrases that teachers say. Um, the stuff that we're covering today, I should qualify. Like, it is. Don't think that this stuff is right. The whole reason that I'm covering it in the first place is because it is like some basic critical thinking stuff. It is the only like level of logic that I'm willing to go into, but it is also like real important to make sure that you have like a very basic understanding of like whether or not a thing makes sense and why you should or should not put any sort of faith in that thing. Oops, I accidentally a word. So yeah, all right, here's some definitions. Deductive is one of them. We'll be learning what that means, and Sherlock was wrong. Is the spoiler there. So in deductive reasoning, you have, I'll show you a chart, but there are two basic, like, there are four base, there's like three basic, there's like five basic terms that you need to know for deductive reasoning. So you get your valid and your invalid, which is basically, does your premise work? The premise I forgot to write down, but a premise is basically like a statement. I'm sure you guys know what fucking premise means, like whether or not you accept someone's premise. Like, accept the premise that I know what I am talking about. I might not actually, but just for a moment accept that that premise is true, and then we can move forward. And then we have sound and unsound. Everything is unsound unless proven otherwise. That's the best way I can describe that. Like, basically, how many orders of magnitude are you wrong by? Booker, go lie down! Sorry. Then we've got inductive reasoning, which is another fun one. Already you can tell from how words work that deductive, basically, you are removing things out of a whole set to narrow it down to the truth, and inductive is you're adding things to build up to the truth, and that's probably correct. So inductive basically comes down to strong or weak arguments, and again, you guys know what the fuck strong and weak means. If you don't, then get out. And also you have cogent and uncogent. I think these are words that y'all should really get to know because a lot of you are uncogent. Basically, does it make any sense? A cogent argument would be something like, yeah, time flows, it is a thing that happens, and an uncogent argument would be like, time is made out of gold. Oh my god, hang on a second. This is so embarrassing. I don't even know how to mute myself.
So yeah, I'm here, mostly letting Gamma lead this one. Shh. He said that I couldn't use this, so you guys are getting off easy here. I can hear you.
There we go. Okay, sorry. As I was saying, this is the first time my dog has actually interrupted the stream, which is crazy, that it hasn't happened before. Let me just... Ow. Booker, come here. This is, for those of you who haven't met my dog, Booker.
He's a good boy.
High five. Okay, go away. Oh yeah, I forgot to advertise. Today I'm wearing a Jejune original. You can find her on the internet. Okay, enough distractions for the moment. This shit makes sense. Yes, that's where we were. Yeah, cogent is it makes sense. Uncogent is I have no idea what you just said to me. And then truth is an important thing, but you're insane if you think that I'm going to go ahead and try and define that. So, and also abductive reasoning, it was there. I'll touch it in an appropriate manner, informally. All right, so here's a chart that I have found. It is a good chart. I think it's kind of nice. Basically, this is a flow chart that has some flow to it. It's pretty much the things that I just said. And actually, it's a pretty good flow for how I'm going to be breaking things down. You know, your deductive, inductive, valid, invalid, strong, weak, sound, unsound. Everything is unsound. And then everything is uncogent. And like sound and cogent are like those holy grails of informal logic that you will never ever find. All of your arguments are wrong. Here's a more different picture that I actually wanted to use in the first place, but I couldn't find it until the last minute, and then I just threw it in there. I like it because it has the words good and bad for argument. So you can tell that it's very impartial. So anyway, let's talk about deductive reasoning, shall we? Tucker, do you have a... for some reason... The what?
So basically, yeah, deductive reasoning, because the conclusions follow and the directional flow of the premises, a conclusion of a deductive argument is certain, whereas in inductive reasoning, it's more like you're trying to have a proliferation of the evidence. So it's not so much as because it's informal logic and the not mathy kind, you're more trying to gain strength for the conclusion and the likelihood that your conclusion is true versus something that is formally like true, I guess, you know, because again, we're not getting quite into...
Well, okay, I will say this, that inductive syllogisms is what we're doing. These are syllogisms. There is at least the pastiche of like accuracy. I don't know what term that hasn't already been defined as something else. Like these inductive arguments that I'll be showing, like they granted that you follow the rules correctly and that your you know, your shit is said in the way that it ought to be said. It should, in the reasonable humans universe, hold true. And I say that with the confidence of someone who like really just crammed for this about 20 minutes ago, and then got like a little bit reprieve on time because the internet crapped out for a second. But here we are.
Yeah, I should have studied a little bit more. But I think also, like, in deductive reasoning, the conclusion is a matter of certainty, whereas in inductive reasoning, the conclusion is a matter of probability.
Yes. That is correct. I feel like that was a point I was going to make, and then I didn't, so thank you. All right, so yes, deductive reasoning as described. I name dropped a word I wasn't going to use, but I did anyway. Syllogism. Forget I said that. It's a spooky word, and I'm probably not using it properly or invoking its name in a ritual where it should not be invoked. So I mentioned in the beginning, though, that deductive reasoning comes down to the number 2 types of validity. We'll look at the invalid first. I didn't define true and false because, much like strong and weak, if you don't know what this means, then I will have to do a separate episode just for you to explain what true and false is. If you need a brief recap, look at the numbers 1 and 0 and then assign a value to them which is equal to itself. And if you don't do that, then it's false. Okay, so here's an example. I'm going to give 2 examples, actually. This is the first one that's prematurely coming out there. I'm going to let you guys guess and then actually tell you which one is invalid true and which one is invalid false. Both arguments are invalid, and you will see why as I present them. And then you can guess as to whether or not they're wrong, or just kind of wrong. So here's the first premise. Some games are good. Maybe this is true, maybe this is false, but let's just accept for a minute that the premise that some games are good holds true. And we must then accept this other premise that some games are walking simulators. So now we have a set of games that are good and a set of games that are walking simulators. And so now we can say, our conclusion can then be, some walking simulators are good. And I'm sure you can see how this is invalid, because if you have a set of something and a set of another thing inside a larger set, you have 2 circles overlap. I should draw a picture. Hang on. Inside of you, there are 2 circles. One of them is a set, and the other one is a set. You are a set that contains sets. How do I pull up Paint? Do I have Paint on my computer? Oh my god. Here we go. Okay, so here you've got, here's a circle. Here's another circle. But wait, there are 2 more circles. Whoops. There are 2 more circles. Here's one. Here's another. We are uncertain of their location in space, but here's a color for things that are games. And like throw some in there too. And then here's a color for things that are walking simulators. I don't know, what's blue and purple, sort of. I don't know, we'll do this gross thing. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So there is some overlap. There are some games that are walking simulators, and there are some walking simulators that are not games, but we're not going to get into that. That's beyond the scope of this paper. Shit, did I draw these circles wrong? Oh no. Let me try again. Ignore me, rewind, edit that out, Gamma. Okay, here's our circle. That's games. Some games are, wait, what did I say? Some games are good, right? So here are games. Here are some games that are good. And then here are some walking simulators. Wait, I'm bad at this. So here, where's my, there it is. Here's my bucket. These are all games. Here's some good games. Here's some walking simulators. This region right here could exist in theory. However, just because both of these things are contained in this circle does not mean that they overlap. We have established no context that they overlap. All we have established is that some of these games are walking simulators and some games are good. We have not said that there is an overlap. You assumed there was an overlap and you were wrong. Now let's look at another example. We have a similar situation of circles and circles and circles all the way down. So we can say that growth, all of it, all growth is hard. For plants, for people, for fungus. Forgot I hate fungus. And we can also say that all easy things are not worth doing, right? So we've established now that growth is hard and that easy things are worthless. Therefore, all growth is worthless. So again, we have a circle and another circle, and there is sort of an implication but unestablished, like, what am I trying to say? There are these things and they exist and we haven't established a link, but whatever. There's no direct link. There is no direct statement that says that these things in fact overlap, but you can see how they would. It makes sense to your squish brain that if growth is hard and easy things aren't worth it, then of course that, like, the hard stuff must be worth it, because it seems reasonable. And it is, because that is a true statement as accepted here, but it is invalid. So in this case, it is invalid for the reasons I explained, and also this is stupid. There are no good walking simulators. And this is invalid for the same reasons that I explained, but it is true, because mood, yeah, man, growth, woof. So now let's talk about actual valid things and how they can be true and false. So let us say that all of...
Don't forget to validity versus soundness as well, because it's like, assuming your premises, you can make a valid argument, but if I were to take claim with one of your premises, it may not be a sound argument.
But we'll get into sound and unsound, because those are awful and I hate them, and I really hope I put them on slides, actually, now that you mention it.
I think you did.
Oh, thank God. We'll find out. Here we go. So let us...
Yeah, you did.
Oh, thank you. Is it on this slide or the next one?
It's the third one after the second image.
So the third after the second. Got it.
Yeah, after the two valid, invalid.
So the fifth, or... Anyway, so yes, some valid premises, and then, we'll think about this with the big thonks. Wait, oh no, is Discord chat not on top? Or, sorry, the chat box, is that not visible? Put that bitch on top. There we go. Yes, the thonk is, in fact, too big. Welcome to the science stream, where all thonks are big. And all bigs are strong. So anyway, all opinions are welcome. Let's accept this premise. And all welcome things are valued. Therefore, all opinions are valued. This premise holds true. The premise holds true is not the question. It's the validity is there. There's a flow. These things do, in fact, mean one another. We have a set that is all opinions, and all of the things in that set are part of another set that is welcome. And then we have another thing that encompasses all things that are welcome that is valued. So now we have 3 fully contained circles in one another. I'm not drawing it because that was a fucking debacle and I'm gonna fuck it up again, but yeah, damn it, I'll draw it. Why do I do this to myself? Why do I do this whole science stream? What's wrong with me? I need help. Oh, I can't do a second color, whatever. Where my circle at? Okay, so here all opinions. What did I say? All opinions are welcome. Yes. So this is a set of all opinions. And they are inside of a larger set of all things that are welcome. And then all things that are welcome are also valued. So when we say that we got... Oops. We have valued, which encompasses welcome, which encompasses opinions. And to say that all of this is inside of this is true, even though we had to do it iteratively, which is a word that you should know. Somebody should know. Anyway, so they're all valued. Now let's look at another valid argument. Your tastes are trash. Accept this premise, and you will be better for it in your life. Your waifu is based on your tastes, which, again, this is not only valid but a true. So, following this logic, your waifu is trash. Now, as you've already guessed, yes, your opinion is shit, and you shouldn't think that it is valid or valued. Even though this argument is valid, the premise is false, and therefore the entire thing is false. Get out of here with your opinion. And speaking of things you should get out of here with, your waifu as well, because this is valid and it holds true. You need some class, get a better waifu. Tucker, I'm looking at you on this one.
No comment.
So let's talk about sound versus unsound. So our example, the example of your opinion, we established that it is valid, but we also established that it was false. This one I think I've left from a previous edition, but this is I think the waifu thing I replaced with this because I forgot what I was doing halfway through I typed this. So this is our valid premises, false and true. And then here is our invalid premise, which is true, and our invalid premise, which is wait. Oh, I fucked up, didn't I? Huh. Oh, right, yes, because some walking simulators are good is false. Just kidding. I got it right. We're all good. Anyway, right, so the false conclusion, which usually, false premises or just the conclusion is straight. It has to be because of the premises, right? If you have a false conclusion, that means that one of your premises was false.
What was that?
A false conclusion means that, assuming it is valid, that there was a premise that was false, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because if it's valid, then the syntax is correct, but the semantics, the content itself, is where the error is, and that makes it unsound.
Okay. I'm getting some feedback that I need to turn down, apparently, or whatever. I have done that.
Sorry about that.
Oh, that's not your fault. That's my fault. Anyway, so yes, so one of these things is not like the other. And in fact, let's see. Opinions are welcome, I think, is the false one here. No, it's probably both. Welcomed things are valued is also false. In this one, which used to be about your waifu, the validity here holds. Let's just pretend it's the how do I go back? Yeah, so it was your waifu's trash. So your tastes, your waifu's based on your taste, and blah blah blah. Okay, so yeah. Sorry, I'm having a hard time with brain. So this one we've got valid flow to things. You've got a definition that it's either blank or blank, and it is not blank, so it is the other blank, which it's pants as hell. Anyway, man, I'm just not only like hammering through this material, but really just tripping over myself. How are you doing today, Tucker? This is
I probably should have taken my meds a little bit earlier so that they could have kicked in a little bit more by the time that I was on here. I meant to study up a little bit more than I actually did too. So when I'm distracted, it's also because I'm like powering through some of the notes that I have on this and getting distracted by ravens and non-ravens.
Oh,
and the like.
oh God. yeah, I guess once I cover these basics here, if you want to like get into some real shit, and I can get rid of this slideshow. Anyway, yeah, I'll just hammer through the slideshow then. We'll get to this part. These were the valid ones. This one is based on a true premise. This one is not. If it is valid but false, it is unsound. If it is valid but true, then it is sound. This is the only time a thing. Can I draw? This is important. This is the only time that something is sound. Why can't I draw with that? At no other point, as you will see, if the premise is invalid, then already it's going to be false. But it's also false for other reasons. It is completely unsound. And then this one, which is true but invalid, it is still unsound. Which is to say, here's how this applies to life. If somebody is making an argument and they are like, well, this thing that you don't like happened, but because of this thing happening, something that is good happened. And that may be true. A thing bad happened and then a thing good happened, but the connection between those two things might be purely like correlative and not causative. This validity of this argument is not valid, present. It's not, the validity isn't there. Wow. Oh god, I hope I'm not going to be doing this next week. I have a presentation in class, and if it goes anything like this, I'm just to whip out my waifu pillow and just hug it while the teacher makes fun of me, which is good. Quick tangent. I have a plan in my class. Speaking of these slideshow presentations, so in my class, as you find people here on the science stream may be aware of, I am a little ridiculous, but we're having a Zoom class, and so every week I'm adding one cringy thing into frame. The first week it was these, and I had them on. Actually, the battery's dead right now. I have to charge it for next week. And then, the vape has been added. Next week, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to whip out like a fidget spinner or something. And this is, what do we have, like, I think we have 16 weeks or so of this class.
You should eventually add me. It's like the final tier of ridiculousness.
Well,
so that I can bump it on your classes.
That would be great. I had planned the waifu pillow as the final tier of ridiculousness, but yeah, no, I can do that second to last, and then actually, I guess I can add you sooner because you're a little less cringy.
Yeah,
I
want to get in on that.
So here, the plan then is when I'm doing the final presentation for the class, I will be in full neckbeard garb with my Hatsune Miku headphones on. I'm gonna have probably some face paint if I can get like some Hisoka. What the fuck are those things called? Card suits on my face, fingerless gloves, some fidget spinners, waifu pillow, vape. It's gonna be great. Tucker will be there apparently. I cannot wait to flunk out of grad school. Oh, also, that was another thing. Since I'm cutting this section of the video out for YouTube anyway, I am in grad school now, and I'm going to be doing the science stream every other week, at most. I can't be doing it every week now because, like, it takes time to do, well, shit like this, but also just to, like, write a lesson plan and then actually learn it before I come on here. So that's happening every other week now, and Tucker won't always be there. Rin won't always be there. Sometimes it'll just be me, and you guys will have to get used to that. But don't worry, content will still come, and it will still be of this caliber, so you're welcome. Yay. Anyway, that's the TLDR on that. Forgot why I went on that tangent, but can't have a sound argument unless the premises are true and the argument itself is valid. Any other combination, it is unsound. Even if it's a true conclusion, it is still unsound if it's not valid. Now let's talk about some inductive arguments. These are the ones that you are more likely to hear out in the real world. These are the things that usually, like, when you're talking to someone online, unless you're like in a very specific part of the internet or have a very specific circle of friends, this is the stuff that you are going to hear, and it is going to sound more casual than like fucking the syllogistic phrases from before. So let's consider this argument that you are hypothetically making to me after my previous arguments towards you, that your waifu is not, in fact, trash. This argument can be added to with strong and weak points. This does not mean that it will never be certain. It doesn't mean that it will ever be certain, rather. It just means that we, as Tucker stated earlier, we can increase the likelihood of a thing being concluded as true, but we'll never, what is it? It's proven a positive, right? The strongest scientific evidence is just like the really only certain thing is to prove that it's false. You can never.
Yeah, because it's more because any particular contradiction could disprove something, whereas and theoretically, like in formal logics, in non-applied logics, you can have absolute truth, but then that's only within its own framework, only within a certain defined criteria, and it's not applied in the sense that it's true in relationship to the kind of truth that would actually matter and the way that we would assume true to mean.
Oh, this is why I didn't want to define truth. Even though, like, when I was every like learning resource for informal logic was like, yeah, teach the definition of truth, but I don't like any of their definitions of truth.
Well, it's interesting because it's like informal logic is sort of just applied formal logic in a way. It doesn't rely on
logic
like, it
for
doesn't...
engineers.
Yeah, pretty much. It's the engineering of logic versus the math of logic, which would be discrete mathematics, which would be formal logic, which is my jam. I like truths that bear no relationship to capital T truth. Those are way easier to work with.
Honestly, like, I know that like we're just barreling down towards some philosophy units eventually, which is arguable whether or not that is science, but like also it was kind of arguable whether or not making crystals in the beginning of the science stream was science. So like, I don't know, we'll just fucking go for it someday. Who gives a shit? Anyway, so right, you can never fully prove an inductive argument. I think it's actually possible to disprove it, but I didn't see that like expressly written anywhere, so I'm just gonna go, it makes sense that you can disprove an inductive argument, but I think they're so nebulous in nature as far as they're like, the point, like this thing, my waifu is not trash. I don't think it's possible to fully prove or disprove, but I'm sure that there is some inductive argument you can make that will be easy enough to disprove. So we'll for now just say that it's, it's impossible to prove. And unless it becomes like an evidence-based thing, in which case I'm getting off topic. So anyway, you can make this sort of strong and weak arguments for your inductive argument. And actually, now that I think of it, your waifu is not trash is not in and of itself an inductive argument. It is merely a statement, which we will now argue inductively. And as I mentioned before, inductive, we are adding things. We are inducting them into this argument, which, because this is the same, like, basic premise presented in our deductive argument, the premise itself, neither inductive or deductive, and I had totally forgotten that, even when I was writing the lesson plan, until literally just right now. So, congratulations, we all learned a thing together. Yay! So let's look at some strong things. These are arguments that would, that are strong arguments. They would go a great way in helping prove or persuade towards your point that your waifu is not trash. A really strong one would be to prove it any way that your opinion mattered. If you were able to do that, that would greatly help your argument that your waifu is not trash. Also, if you had history of good taste, that would go a long way towards proving it as well. However, why is that there? This isn't supposed to be there, and I'm confused why, because it's not on the actual slide. I don't like slideshows. I don't know why I thought this was a good idea. Anyway, all growth is hard mood is just haunting me. These arguments that you could make that are the weaker side of arguments, things that would weaken your position, is if you come out with that whole, tiggle bitties are equal to plot sort of argument where it's, huge titty anime girls are automatically good waifus, basically. That's some weak sauce right there. Miss me with it. If it's something that you are actually saying, that will also weaken this argument. So really, you're gonna have to accept that your waifu is trash. Maybe try better next time. So let's add some premises instead. When we make a inductive argument, like we see before, you can, like, out the gate say something like, oh, this thing is like this, and that's anecdotal, I suppose, to some values of anecdotal, but describing that situation further can alter the strength or the weakness of this premise. So in the same way that adding like all blank are blank and some blank are blank, those are added premises. With an inductive argument, you can actually still add more premises, but you're not using that sort of informal formalized framework to make your point. Let's look at an example. Today, y'all watch the science stream. This is a true thing because you are currently watching the science stream, and if this statement is false, then something weird has happened, and congratulations, you broke it. I would argue then, this premise that I've added here is that you like the science stream. We can weaken this argument, this conclusion, these premises by adding the following premises. If you frequently shit on the science stream, or y'all only wash trash, if those are added to that statement, suddenly that statement seems a little less reliable. You like the science stream becomes less and less likely to be true if these two statements are added on. Whether, we're not here because, like, this is not a valid or invalid thing. This is a strong or weak. This may or may not be true. We don't know, but it is part of the argument we are making. The strong support of the science stream liking thing is going to be, if you guys only shit on things that you like, in addition to these premises that we added here, we continue talking and are like, oh, but we only shit on things that we like, and also, like, you guys are around enough to care about shitting on things. Suddenly, that initial premise of you like the science stream becomes a little bit more plausible. So this is the sort of flowchart method, or the flowchart added premises of stronger and weaker inductive arguments, as opposed to, there would be really great if I could, like, go back, but okay, whatever. The earlier premise, this version of things, which is basically just, here's my premise, now listen to me as I yell about it, versus this one where here's my premise and here's some other premises that support it. This is, of the two strong versus weak, this is the stronger strong versus weak, I guess. This is honestly the argument that you're going to run into the most in the wild, and this is the one that is probably the most important for the further episodes in this learning unit. The ones where we're going to get into, like, information trustability and whether or not, like, a thing that you have read means anything, can it be, relied upon or whatnot. So these inductive with new premise arguments are going to be the ones that we're going to fall back on. You can kind of forget the other ones, but they're important to know by way of contrast. So there's also abductive reasoning. I think it's stupid. Like, it's neat and, like, as a literary mechanic, or, I don't know. This is sort of this is the sort of thing actually you see in, like, uh like criminal arguments and detective work and shit like that. Um, basically, it's not unlike inductive. It's sort of a little bit of both inductive and deductive. I forget exactly what ab means in the context of a prefix, and I'm unwilling to look it up right now because I've already dicked around in paint enough to like eat up enough of my time here. But as this definition that I have written out here, which I will now read because I don't remember it.
Abductive reasoning is the logical process where one chooses a hypothesis that would best fit the given facts.
Right. Thank you. But what does the ab mean? What is the prefix ab?
It's a prefix.
Let's see.
Because it's from abduction in terms of
away.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so
I can't tell if you're actually saying that or just bullshitting that.
no, that's what here. Where did the
Okay, yeah, because they're qualified as having some uncertainty or doubt. That makes sense then. Inference to the best explanation.
Oops. Yeah, ab.
See that?
goes along right with apo, abs, and ah. I'm never doing a unit on language. It's stupid, and I love it. Anyway, so yeah, abductive reasoning. Like you said, you got the thing, and you're like, oh, okay, this best fits. Now, how can I make it work with this hypothesis thing? This is, well, here, I think I wrote it down. Yeah, this is some Sherlock shit. So when fucking Doyle writes that he deduced a thing, he is not actually deducing a thing. He is abducing a thing. What Sherlock is doing is finding a bunch of evidence. This is, we could say that there is like some inductive stuff happening there because he's taking on new things, but there's no argument yet. He's just gathering a bunch of points of data. And then as far as the deductive part, right, yes. He is not narrowing down this information. He's not cutting away some of it that is or is not related. He's looking at the whole thing in a pile, and he's, putting little lines of yarn on the wall to see how what sort of like thing fits best with all of the shit present. Now, in some stories, yeah, he's just like, aha, red herring. I'm the genius man, and I was right all along. Fuck you, Watson. But like, yeah, it's abductive in every way. Miss me with that fucking shit. I'm upset.
It seems like the kind of thing that Hobbes kind of railed against in terms of proofs. Because one of the ones that I always heard about, because he talked a bit about like how can we know truth? And one of the classical examples is like the billiard ball thing, where it's like, okay, here's your stick. Here's your pool stick. Okay, once this made contact, you saw that the ball now went into the thing. We can assume, especially after a number of tests, that this ball went into this pocket because it was hit by the thing. But, and this is where Hobbes got, his panties in a twist. It's like, it can't be completely proven. This is an example of abductive reasoning. It's affirming the consequence. It could just so happen to be the case that this is only what's been observed so far. Maybe tomorrow you'll hit the pool ball, hit the thing, and it won't move. Maybe it turns out God did it. It had nothing to do with the pool cue. But, this is partly where informal logic comes in, is that it's reasonable to make those connections between the stick hits the ball. That's why it went in the hole.
Right. It's, yeah, I mean, this is, I suppose actually, yeah, this is a thing that we would see in the wild too.
But you get so mad and I love it.
Wasn't that Hume though?
It was Hume. You're right. I was thinking political philosopher. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for calling me out on that.
No, I was just really confused because usually you're right about that stuff, but I'm like, no, Hobbes was like,
I was just
Hobbes was
testing
like,
you.
life
Yeah,
is
Hobbes
short
for
and
political
brutish and
philosophy.
ugly, and I'll kill it. Everyone tries to kill each other, and we should be nicer about that. Right. So in this example that you have given just now with the pool ball, yeah, that seems plausible. What is plausible? Some
A
criminal shit.
proliferation of evidence.
Not how I wrote it, but yes.
What is plausibility? A miserable proliferation of evidence.
But yes, it is. It is a proliferation, which wow. If I try to say that any more than just now, I'll probably fuck it up.
Yeah, I'm surprised I didn't fuck it up more than I did.
It is that kind of evidence stuff. This is the sort of things that we see in like courtrooms, which is why I have 2 courtroom things there, and then a third one that may or may not be a courtroom thing. I don't know. So when the prosecution or the state, or which, well, I guess the state is the prosecution usually, is almost always, actually, and think it's always. Anyway, when they're like in a criminal case burdened with beyond a reasonable doubt for proving something, this is the plausibleness of it. The plausibility, I guess, is really what they're getting to with that. So if a reasonable human being sees that what they have done is like beyond this reasonable doubt, it is plausible in at a level where it would be basically implausible for another thing to happen. Plausibility being like yeah, that's definitely what happened, sort of plausible, and not the, well, I could see it, but kind of plausible. Yeah, fuzzy logic is a thing that I will not be touching on.
Wait, fuzzy logic?
No. Yeah. God.
I've got it on hand. I'm being very good about not getting too far.
Just let me get through these slides, and then we can go off the rails. Right. Anyway, this is also one of those, like, I can neither confirm nor deny sort of plausibility, but like you can see it, right? Like, are you know, is the CIA disrupting other countries? Like, well, I can't prove it per se, but you know, it seems reasonable. I feel like they might be disrupting other governments. And you would do this by having a mountain of data and making the connections and abducing, which I really am almost certain is not a real word, but
yes.
Unfortunately, the abductive reasoning sort of thing comes with some cop-out qualifiers. When you come to a quote-unquote abductive conclusion, you have to say things like, well, this is the best available data we've based this on, or it's like the most likely thing that's happening, or as far as I can tell, it's like this. Stuff that I say in everyday conversations so that I don't have to be held accountable for any of the advice or thoughts that I have. These are the qualifiers that come with an abductive reasoning conclusion. And that is it. There are no more slides. We can go off the rails now, but real quick, I just wanted to how do I get rid of the display capture? Real quick, I just want to like recap what we learned just now. We've got, and there we go. We have the lesson plan somewhere. Inductive, deductive. With the the deductive, we've got valid, invalid. Valid is a premise that holds true with logical consistency, something that makes sense, as in this is inside of this because we established that this. The invalid, establishing nonsensical things, or rather making a conclusion that is from 2 unestablished connections of a premise. We've got the sound versus unsound. Sound just being like the highest, most holy goal. It needs to be not only valid, but also true. Inductive, strong, weak. Abductive, get out of here with that. Truth is a word. That's it. Now, let's discuss. So, tell me about this fucking fuzzy logic. Go for it. Go nuts.
Oh, no, I would have to prepare a little bit more in order to get on that kind of thing. Non-classical logic is really fun, though. And we kind of touched on this a bit in the informal logic, because you know how we were sort of saying, for example, like deductive reasoning versus inductive reasoning. One is kind of like deriving A from B, or deriving B from A, whereas inductive reasoning would be more like inferring B from A. With fuzzy logics and stuff, you can be a little bit more, I guess, refined in terms of like, and there's different kinds of fuzzy logics, but like degrees of truth, degrees of membership in a set, stuff like that. So it's all about, like, a lot of non-classical logic is more about refining qualifications. Because like even in the lowest level or the earliest simplest classical logics, you don't even have modal qualifiers. So
What is that?
modal logic would almost be, oh well, let me tell you. So modal logic, it augments classical logic by allowing for sometimes and always and some and all. So there's actually a lot of the formal manipulations that you can do on classical logic. You can also do on modal logics and non-classical logics, but it adds another degree of it adds more logic to your logic.
Just what I wanted.
But it's neat. So like, I'm trying to see if I remember this correctly, because like, for example, one of my favorites in classical logic is, it's like A implies B. Also that's equivalent to not, let's see, not A. I'll have to, some of this is like muscle memory
Is
stuff.
this like the converse inverse sort of
yeah,
stuff?
kind of. So it's like P implies Q is equivalent to not P or Q. You can also, I forget how that with modal logics, because then those will sometimes switch around as well when you're doing that kind of you know.
I don't, but this is fascinating.
It's pretty cool stuff.
Like the deepest I in my own schooling went down the logic rabbit hole was yeah, I literally think it was like that sort of liminal state between formal and informal, and things were said using formal logic, but we never actually got into it proper style. No, wait, that's not true. I think I'm trying to have a memory from before I get hit by a car, but I don't fully remember it. I think Dr. Mundale taught us some formal logic. Also, I just remember that she exists and I love her. I hope she's doing well.
Yeah. No, and it's like, I like this too, because we've been talking about like truth, but in fuzzy logics, you can have degrees of truth as well. So it's like, instead of being true or false, it could be anything between 0 and 1, where 0 would be untrue and 1 would be true.
That's what Jonathan was saying about
it. allows for vagueness.
Ah, gross. That's where I live, in Vegas.
But it allows for formal vagueness. That's the exciting part.
Oh, well, I don't want to have to put pants on in my own house. Jonathan was saying non-monotonic logic. Monotonic. Yeah. So is that, yeah, I guess that was what, okay, yeah, bivalent. I see that as a word now. Got it. So fuzzy logic is not true or false. It is 0.0000.
It can be. I mean, some formal logics would be a subset of fuzzy logics. It is only 0 or 1 rather than admitting of degrees.
So then how?
So exciting. Oh shit! No way. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm like excited about this but it actually, the first section of fuzzy logic goes into the Sorites paradox, which I really like. That's the heap paradox, where it's like, how many grains of sand does it take for something to become a heap?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as you're doing it one at a time, you can add an infinite amount of sand before it's a heap. You just have to make sure never to add more than one.
As long as they're like stacked equally on top of each other and they don't have that class. Yeah.
Then it is just big grain and not a heap.
very small changes have no effect on the applicability of the predicate.
Thank you for the
But
compliments. I don't. How the fuck am I supposed to pronounce your screen name here on Twitch? Rafe is. Let's see. I can't actually read it because my glasses aren't on. But whatever. Thank you, Tucker.
What?
Rin says that your hair is always great.
Thank you. Yeah, I need to get the UV back up there. It looks cooler under UV.
Yeah, that's true. I should re-up on my UV shit too. If you that middle, what? Jonathan, what does that mean? I swear if you exclude that middle. I don't get it. I think that's it, unless you want to cover anything.
Raven Paradox.
Right,
Can I touch on that before?
Sorry,
because I love the Raven Paradox.
By all means.
So it's super fun. There's actually been a couple of different responses to it. I won't get into all of those, although I like that Carnap has a response. I like Carnap. Favela got me in on him. But so it's also called Hempel's Paradox. So and this goes back to sort of what I was talking about, where it's like P implies Q is equivalent to not P or Q. So if we make the claim that all ravens are black, I also really love the Wikipedia like images for this. It's like a black raven, and then it's like a series of apples, and it's like non-black, non-ravens. So that makes me happy. Basically, though, it's like what constitutes evidence in a logical argument. So if all ravens are black, then that can be expressed as if something is a raven, then it is black. So, but by the switcheroo, you can say the green apple is not black and it is not a raven. Does that constitute evidence for the claim that all ravens are black? There's actually been a lot of different proposed resolutions to that. Some of them have gotten into what we brought up earlier, which was like what constitutes weight towards a claim, what makes something more or less likely. Some of the like easiest resolutions have been like, okay, maybe formally like a non-black, non-raven can contribute to the claim that all ravens are black by showing that in this set of all things, here is an example of a non-raven that does not disprove the claim. So, and then some of the argument there will be like, even if it does, it's so irrelevant as to not really add any weight for the claim that all ravens are black. But I like that. I like the paradox that a red apple contributes to the argument that all ravens are black. I think that's hilarious. And sometimes when you look at like formal logic, you can get some kind of bizarre stuff in there that's maybe not super intuitive. Although there are intuitionist logics, but I think we've run out of logic time, so I'm not gonna get too into intuitionist logics.
I mean, shit, I could just split this episode in two halves if you want to keep going for a little bit. I don't understand. This shit's fascinating to me.
No, it's actually really cool. If we were going to do another one, I'd have to brush up on my Tableau notation. Actually, I love Tableau notation. Like,
all right.
Started out with just doing kind of like truth tables and stuff, but sometimes it gets really, really big and you can't contain anything in a truth table, and then you get shit like this, where it does like branching stuff, and it's neat. Anyways, that's my portion of the rant. I'm not gonna take up too much time on irrelevancies.
Yeah, I'm looking at some tableaus and their notations and thinks I hate it.
But it's neat. It's like you kind of just follow them, and then you can like X or check and stuff.
Well, yeah, it's a flow chart.
It is a flow chart, and Priest does a really good job of explaining it. I love Grand Priest.
Okay, hang on. So when we, how do I pull my slides back up? Where are they though? If we were to look,
I'm sorry. I just want to interrupt one more time. I love how in the introduction to intuitionism, it's like, consider the sentence. Granny had led a sedate life until she decided to start pushing crack on a small tropical island just south of the equator. This is why logic's fun.
is logic fun though, or are the people who write about logic fun?
Both.
Make your strong and weak arguments for such.
Alrighty.
All right, so I'm gonna hop over to slide page 2. I'll look at that real quick. So take me through your typical. Can I zoom? Nope. No. Yeah, because this is, we got some terminology, flowchart, tableau notation, but not from up to down.
Yeah, I'll have to brush up on that though.
Well, I mean, it basically starts. So let's take this. Give me an argument of some type.
Let me see. Use one of the ones from our examples earlier.
Okay, that's boring.
I'm also kind of like not completely as focused as I ideally should be.
No, I mean, same. Like right now, if you were to like put a fucking stethoscope up to my head, you'd just hear the red streamer area Mario battle theme just over and over.
It's like the modem startup noise, but never actually connected. That's what mine would sound like.
You're gonna have to play Origami King when I'm done with it. It's a really great game, and actually, fuck Nintendo. Now that I'm thinking about it, they did a thing that I won't say out loud because spoilers. But oh my god, I can't believe they actually did that, and I'm sad. Anyway, so let's take once again my favorite argument that your waifu is trash. But let's make the argument that your waifu is trash, and it's because you watch shitty anime. That's my argument. So what kind of argument is that? What would you say the argument to you, if I was to say your waifu is trash, and then just as such, and like because you watch shitty anime, what sort of argument is that?
If you're saying that, and I think this is what Jonathan was talking about, where you're saying it's either this is true or either this is false, that would be, if I'm remembering correctly, the law of the excluded middle, because it's like, it's either the proposition true is true or the negation is true. There's no degrees of truthiness.
Well, I was going for that's an inductive argument, but the thing that you said sounds way high level. This is why I wanted you to give me an argument so I could follow the chart that I can see.
All ravens are black.
Okay, this is obviously a deductive argument because now you're stating a premise that has a x or some x or all x or whatever x or y. So go on.
I'd say it would be inductive.
Inductive?
Yeah, because it's more bottom up rather than top down. I mean, it could be used as deductive if we were arguing. No, inductive would be all ravens are black. Deductive would be assuming spherical chickens in a vacuum.
Oh my god.
All chickens are spheres in a vacuum.
Okay, so all ravens are black. What comes after that? Are you about to add another premise or?
Well, that's the thing, is that's more just the conclusion. So it would be, let's see. You could have like a raven and be like, this raven is black, and you could have an apple and you could say this is not a raven and it is not black. But that would be more inductive, I think, because it's not actually. So you're looking for like a formal argument with like at least two premises and a conclusion.
No, not anymore.
Got sidetracked.
Yeah, no, this is a dumb idea for me to have. Basically, I was gonna like run through some example or whatever and see if we as an audience could handle it. But yeah, I think we're done for today.
Yeah, I need to study a little bit more, and also meds change.
That's fair.
Yeah.
All right. Well, next week, what are we doing next week? We're doing the information thing, information savvy. What was the name of the thing? Actually, I have it in my notes. Was information literacy.
Okay, yeah, no, and I'll be there for that. I've been
Hell
putting
yeah, you
together
will.
stuff for that, and we can like meet over and go over a few things because I think it's important. I think that that also follows from the last science stream that we did, and there's some like practical ways of going about the contemporary issues that we're having with information distribution and making
Yeah.
sense of all the stuff that's out there.
So I will say this instead. Either okay, for some science streams are on form or on fallacies, and some science streams are on information literacy. Therefore, the next science stream will either be on information literacy or on fallacies. Um, is that
But
sound or unsound?
I don't think it would be valid either because
It's not.
there's also the possibility that it could be something else.
That is accurate. So there is, in fact, the possibility that next week might be something else. But for the purposes of what I'm saying here, all likelihood information literacy. Although we did want to cover logical fallacies, which is part of the reason I covered informal logic. So I don't know. We might actually be able to do Borth. We might be able to do Borth, since
Yeah, we can do it.
the one is only so long and the other is, a little
Also,
longer.
so, yeah.
I mean, information literacy I think is probably the longer of the two, unless you want to go down like a comprehensive
Probably.
list of
I could
fallacies.
try to condense it, but like we've been going consistently over, which I guess is better than coming up short, but
Are you sure though?
I'm not. I'm not sure about anything.
Actually,
I make no claims.
that is a good point. If I'm only doing this every other week, I think I'm more comfortable going for like 1.5 to 2 hours instead of just like
Yeah,
1 to 1.25 or whatever.
it's surprising how fast it goes.
Yeah. Well, some episodes are just like need to be fast because there's only so much you could talk about on a single subject, and if you start hopping to another one now, you've just got too much. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, if we're doing this once every other week, I think we can do a longer episode, and so I guess we can test that out the week after next when we do formal, rather logical and fallacies and information literacy. I'll start
Yeah.
I'll start typing an outline right now, which will not get finished until 2 days before. Anyway,
Yeah.
these.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
No, I've got some stuff. I'll talk to you later about adding it to what you're writing.
I haven't written anything. I was lying.
Well, I won't tell anyone.
I just did. So, I mentioned earlier in the beginning of the stream that the science stream is only possible because of patrons and my own fucking money, which I have very little of. So, I want to thank our patrons, all 6 of them. We've got our junior lab technician. What the hell did I call that? Junior scientist. That's what it was. We've got one junior scientist, Chance Morgan, our adorable little Babby Science. We have, what are we at? We're at three lab partners, which is just, that's a lot of lab partners. If I had 3 lab partners in my lab during like one of my classes, I would die. But in this instance, that's good. This is good because this is money to keep the science stream going. So anyway, Andrea, Nicole, and Jane, thank you very much. By the way, Jane is the one who did this. I just fuck it. I'll just chill for her on the page. I will post a link to her shit. It's good shit. Y'all should patronize her. Is that the right word? Also, we have our head researcher, Rin. Who I guess is dead. Like, I made a joke about her being dead. What, like 5-6 weeks ago. I don't know how long it's been, and she just has not been back since, so she might actually be dead. And then, of course, we have our Empress of the Lab, the beautiful, the wonderful, the reliable Donna. Jesus fucking Christ, that's a lot of money you give me, Donna. Like, honestly, you're the one that keeps this going. If it wasn't for your donation every month, I probably would not be able to, like, afford the most basic resources. Like the shit that... I forgot to bring in the gacha machine! That's okay. I don't have anything to raffle this week anyway. But next week, the next episode, the week after next, what is that? That is going to be the 1st. Nope, the 24th. Yeah, look forward to it, please. On the 24th, I'll have a raffle. Okay, I think that's it. Thanks, guys, for coming. Like, subscribe, share, holla at your boy. I don't fucking know. I'm gonna have to figure out how to call to action someday. And until then, fucking bye!